Hey everyone, it's Aubrey, recovering perfectionist, queen of distraction. This week's video is going to be a little bit different from what I'm normally posting. If you're new here, welcome. Like I said, I'm a recovering perfectionist. ADHD is my constant companion. I'm a wannabe minimalist, mom of two, wife to my husband, and the majority of what I post is just day-to-day life, me just trying to do the best that I can while juggling it all. And while we're on the topic of juggling all the things, let's just roll into today's video. Recently, I've been getting really frustrated with myself regarding my phone usage. In the past, my phone usage has been significantly worse, and in comparison, my phone usage now is really not that bad. But then versus now, I'm also in a very different situation. Life-wise, I have a lot more on my plate, a lot more on my mind, and I really just don't have the time or mental capacity to allow myself to be getting distracted on my phone like I am. So starting tomorrow, I'm challenging myself to 1 week of extremely mindful phone use. In a perfect world, I would cut myself off cold turkey, but in today's day and age where so much of what we do is on our phones, it's really just not a realistic option for me. So the idea here is for me and you, if you would like to join me, is to take a good hard look at the things that consume your time on your phone and figure out what needs to go and what you're willing to let stay. Right now, at this point in my life, I have 2 small kiddos that I'm trying to document. I also YouTube from my phone, so I need to be able to take pictures. I need to be able to take videos. Long gone are the days of cameras and camcorders. I also grocery shop from my phone, bill pay, this, that, and the other. But then again, there's Instagram and Pinterest and all of those other things in between that are so easy to get caught up in when I go to my phone to use it as a tool. For example, I might go on my phone to add strawberries to my grocery cart, but the last thing I was on was Instagram. And next thing you know, I'm not adding strawberries to my grocery cart. I'm sitting on the couch scrolling through Instagram for 10-15 minutes, and then I kind of have this moment where I realize what I'm doing. I don't know where the time has gone. A lot of times there's been a child trying to get my attention, and that's what kind of brings me back to reality, and then it makes me think, how long have you been sitting there watching me stare at my screen? And then I feel like a terrible mother, and here we are. And I know that I'm not the only one who has experiences like that. And I don't want to come across like I'm shaming anybody for spending time watching reels or watching YouTube videos on your phone. I mean, it's very much a big part of the way we're entertained these days. But for me personally, I feel like I'm having a really hard time finding the sweet spot with those things, and Instagram and YouTube, Pinterest, those are things I do need to cut myself off from for this week and see how things feel. Right now, we're quickly approaching the end of the summer, and I really just want to make sure that I am the most present mom possible before I send my son back to school for the year. And I can't be the mom that I want to be if I'm getting stuck staring at my phone for large quantities of my day. So my first plan of action for this is to be mindful about where my phone is. I feel like when we set goals like this, there obviously has to be your why, and my why is wanting to be a present mom, but there also has to be some planning and intent behind everything. And one thing I'm considering now is, what am I taking off of my phone? Where am I going to put my phone? And what things am I still allowing myself access to? Having children, I do want to make sure that I still have access to communication if for whatever reason they're not with me. So there are going to be periods of time where my phone will physically be with me, especially if we are outside of the house. But when we are home and we're all together, I really do want to physically detach from it as much as I possibly can. So I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging in the house so I have a central location in the home to put my phone where it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but where I can still pump up the volume just a smidge so I can hear when it rings. I'm also thinking that I'll have just one of my AirPods in so I can still get calls, texts, and listen to audiobooks or music. Those are 2 things that I still do want to allow myself to do, just because those are actually things that are really beneficial for me when it comes to me staying productive. I love nothing more at the end of the day than to just listen to either music or my current favorite audiobook and check all of the things off of my to-do list. And that's another thing, having my phone in a central location in the house will still allow me to use my AirPods and have range really wherever I go. And there is also just something about doing a little rearranging and moving a piece of furniture around that just feels like the freshest start. So now that I have a place for my phone, another thing that I'm also thinking about is, when I do need to use my phone, what do I have access to? One thing I will be doing is going through my phone, deleting any apps that really no longer serve me, and also considering the apps that I do want to keep on. There are a lot of creative benefits to apps like Instagram and Pinterest, and there are far too many saved recipes on those platforms that I don't feel like I can delete the whole app. So one thing I am going to do, and this is something that you can do as well if you have an iPhone, I'm sure that there's a method for Android, but that's out of my scope of practice. If you go to your iPhone storage, there's an option for each app to offload the app. So the app is still on your phone. All of your data, like your login information, is still there. So you don't lose any of that. It essentially uninstalls the app from your phone. So if you click on the app, it's going to act like it's going to reinstall it. And this is something that I've done in the past before, and it was really helpful for me. So like if I had offloaded YouTube, every time I clicked on YouTube, it would start to reload the app, and I would catch myself while it was in that process. Before the app actually had a chance to open, I could catch it and I could say cancel download and still stay on track of my goals without actually having to delete the app. Does this defeat the purpose? Maybe, kind of, sort of, I don't know. I feel like when we do challenges like this for ourselves, we have to test the waters and just see what works. Another thing I'm thinking about is how am I going to organize my apps? One thought that I'm having is everything that is a tool that I want to allow myself access to, just have on the main screen and then push everything else that I'm trying to avoid to another screen. And I think that by doing that, it will help avoid any temptation, but also I'm really not worried about that because I'm pretty darn motivated at this point. Another thing to think about is obviously communication, because sometimes we still actually use our phones for talking to people. So to make sure that I'm still in the loop within reason, obviously something we also want to consider here is how much unnecessary communication are we doing? Like I mentioned, I'll be utilizing my AirPods. I'll get notifications for texts and calls there. And then also my watch, I'll get notification for texts and calls as well. And I'll be able to use those third-party devices to help me decide what I'm willing to invest my time in at that moment. Is it urgent? Can I put it off? And really just ultimately deciding, is it more important than what I'm doing right at this very moment? My ultimate goal here is not only just to challenge myself to see if I can limit my usage for a week, but see what works for me within that week and see how I'm able to bring it to week 2, week 3, week 4, and just see what I can really cut out of my life. And also take this opportunity to pay attention to my mind and body and see how drawn I am to my phone. There are so many times where I have thought or a question and my phone is naturally just the immediate place that I go. But then again, like I mentioned, there are just so many situations where one thing leads to another, and being the person that I am, just having so many thoughts racing through my head at any given time during the day and using my phone so much of the time to answer those questions or check those things off of my to-do list, I do need to have some kind of method to funnel those thoughts and get those questions out of my head. And my plan for that is to use this adorable little composition notebook. I got a pack of 3 of these at the $1.25 store. It fits perfectly in my pocket, just like my phone did. And then I even got, where is it? Oh gosh, I'm gonna lose these. I even got a pack of tiny pens. I couldn't find any adult style pens that were reasonably priced, so I picked up a pack of 12 scented party favor pens from Walmart for $2 something, and I split the pack with my son. So my plan is, in most situations, instead of carrying my phone around, I'm gonna have my handy dandy notebook with me to jot down thoughts, questions, things that I want to look up, and give myself a small chunk of time during the day when I'm alone to go through those things, decide what's still important, and if it is, then take that time to hop on my phone and, add the things to my grocery list or Google the question. And I don't really have an idea or system for how I'm going to use it. There's 50 sheets in the notebook. I've got 3. I'm sure that 50 pages will suffice for 1 week. We'll see how things go. I'm really hoping that this does end up being a system that works well for me and something that I can just implement, just carrying a small notebook around to jot down the thoughts and keep myself from being drawn towards my phone as my first source for figuring out whatever it is that I need to, if that makes sense. If you're in a similar situation like me right now, where you're just trying to enjoy the last few weeks of summer with your kid, and I suppose this video will be on the internet forever, so really whenever the time is, if you need to cut off ties from your phone a little bit or just distance yourself a smidge, please use my video as guidance and inspiration. Tweak what you need to, but ultimately just have that goal in mind of being mindful and intentional with your phone use and see where things take you after a week. Next Friday, I will be posting a follow-up video for this, just how things went for me, how I'm feeling, what I've learned, everything that I'm taking away from it, anything that I want to change or implement in the future. And hopefully this will be a small little life-changing something that really helps me put the reins on my phone use. And definitely in this situation, the more the merrier. Tell me all your thoughts and feelings in the comments. I'd love to hear where you're coming from regarding this topic. Alrighty, we're gonna wrap this up now. Thanks for hanging out. If you're new here or you would like next week's update, please consider subscribing. And that's all for real. I'll see you in the next one. As always, I love you, have fun, and be kind.